Now, guys, I do have a video planned on the things I like about Dragon Age Inquisition. In fact, it's planned after this video, but I did want to talk about another aspect of Dragon Age that has changed since Dragon Age Origins. That being what you could only call a dark fantasy grit aspect to a more kind of fluff aspect. By dark fantasy, I mean that so many of the characters in Dragon Age Origins were ambiguous and multifaceted. I mean, Loghain is probably the classic example, but Arl Eamon is one of them as well. Honora, I mean, you can feel pity for her on some level, but you can also hate her. And even Morgan, she doesn't. The characters are just much more challenging, I think, than you find in characters thereafter, specifically Dragon Age Inquisition. Some of the characters are well written, but none of the characters offer the dark grit and the quests as well, and that ominous feeling of tension in the atmosphere is never there in Dragon Age Inquisition, at least to my feeling. I don't know about you guys, but that was very present for Dragon Age Origins. But there's none. That ominous feeling of tension seems to be lacking in Inquisition, for me at least. There's no sense of foreboding. There's no sense of darkness really, in that hanging over you sense that we used to have in Dragon Age Origins. Even though the missions, of course, aren't timed, there's that sense of urgency. We got to get to Orzammar. We have to get the dwarves on board. We have to get these guys on board. It's not a question of inevitability. Will it happen or it won't? Yeah, you do end up killing the archdemon regardless, but it's a question of how you get there. It's a question of the journey. And that sense of dark, foreboding, ominous concern that one had in Dragon Age Origins is what was lacking in Dragon Age 2, and it is utterly lacking in Dragon Age Inquisition, in my observation. I'm trying to think of a single mission or area of the game where that you have that case. The Fade could have been very foreboding, very, very dark and edgy, and being in the Fade didn't have that effect at all. Yes, the Fear Demon taunts you. He's got a great voice actor, and it sounds cool, but there's none of that. The attack on Haven isn't. It's got some nice epic music, but there's nothing really dark and foreboding about that. It's just not in the game at all, and maybe that's another thing that BioWare has transitioned away from. Maybe that's an element of the past, and they just don't want to use it anymore. This game, to me, is far too neutral to cheery. I mean, in terms of on a scale, it's neutral to cheery when I think about the atmosphere. You never really had a cheery feeling in Dragon Age Origins. There was always that ominous, if we don't do this shit, if we don't get it done, something bad's going to happen feeling. And in decisions you made too. The decision to send Hawk to his death or Loghain or whichever warden you choose is kind of flippant. You don't, unless you have something well thought out in your head. I hesitated in Origins. Do you let Alistair have his way? I mean, let's even Alistair, right? Think about the Origins decision after the duel or whatever. The fact is that Alistair isn't seeing the big picture. Yes, he wants vengeance for Duncan, but they need as many wardens as possible, and he can't see past that. So you can't really convince him. There are ways. It's difficult, but yeah, you can piss him off if he becomes king. But that kind of thing. Even Alistair has different layers to him. I don't really see that in Dragon Age Inquisition. You might argue that it's because it's it's a one game, one time thing as opposed to Mass Effect, right? But in the Origins, you still had that. You had the hardening. You really became acquainted with people. Maybe it's because your companions felt. That's another element, of course. Felt like travel companions as opposed to people you pick up at a base and then leave with. I think a lot of that has to do with is related to that as well. So you have that, and that's intimacy, right? That's part of the dark foreboding thing as well. There's a sense of urgency, of imminence, and you have an intimacy with your traveling companions that's just not there in terms of Inquisition. Inquisition is literally pick your character and go with them. Who do you take on the mission? That was kind of vis-a-vis Mass Effect, right? Because you have the Normandy, and it makes sense, but it also creates a level of detachment where you don't feel very well connected to the characters. That is, admittedly, a somewhat of a tangent and a separate issue to the dark, foreboding, ominous effect, but nonetheless, it's not there anymore. I wonder if BioWare is even interested in producing that kind of thing anymore. I don't know, but I miss it. I'm a super detached, unemotional person, but there is an element to me that still would like to tap into some degree in a fictional setting. I call them pocket universes. That element, and it was just so lacking. Every decision I make is just I do to see what will happen, but there's no emotional investment there. And see, the thing is, in a really good game, right? A really good game could make a hardcore atheist such as myself play a devout dwarven and Andrastian and almost believe it and feel emotion and feeling in making decisions when talking about the maker and the decisions you make with the consequences and what the consequences are for characters, and that is just not there. And I could list a ton of reasons for the reason that's the case, in my view at least. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm curious what my subscribers think, what you guys think. Some of you have agreed with what I've said in the past in the previous video. But this is something I really miss, dark grit, that we have to get this done. This is a serious situation. There's time for levity, but levity is not the atmosphere. Whereas you don't have that in Inquisition. I think my Carta Cards video is testament to that. I mean, you're just hanging out, everything's cool. Is the fact that you're playing a card game when this ancient evil is threatening the world, to my mind, is a testament to a lack of seriousness put into the game. That's kind of the Mass Effect Citadel effect to me. That's Citadel effect. All right, the universe is being threatened. The galaxy is being threatened by the Reapers. Let's just chill out, take a week off, and hang out at the Citadel and have parties and get drunk. I mean, I could kind of see it happening. I know they do it for the sake of character interaction, but it's people in the forums have cited that as this heartwarming scene. To me, it's just completely artificial. You have one fade in where everyone starts laughing. Ha ha ha! You need to tell jokes more often. Ha ha! Great story. Ha ha! It was really fake, and it's just so out of place. We have this supposedly ominous, oppressive evil in the background. Corypheus, the ancient magister, who unleashed the blight upon the world, and blah blah blah. And we're just chilling and hanging out. That smacks of some of the poorer qualities of Mass Effect to my mind. Oh, maybe I'm just an old man. Maybe I'm just stuck in the past. But I really miss that dark sense of urgency that was ever present in Dragon Age Origins. The levity in Origins only added to it. It was occasional, but it was nonetheless. It sort of fit into the bigger picture. You have levity in Dragon Age Inquisition, but it's just weird how they made the game. A game, as someone on the forum said, that tried to do everything and failed. I've said this too, failed at it. And it's not a bad game, but it isn't really a good game either, in my view of things. I miss the dark grit. I hope there are companies that arise from the nothingness or from the ashes and do this. I am hoping that Pillars of Eternity is good, but frankly, moving forward to the future, I am very wary of any gaming company and the promises they make. I don't really know anymore. I don't know what to put my stock in, my faith. Well, I have no faith, so I have to see. But I miss the dark fantasy. I miss the dark grit. If you miss it too, comment and let me know what you think in the comment section, and let me know if I'm just totally overseeing something and just not paying attention. Those comments are welcome too. As always, thanks for watching. May the gods be with you, and keep on gaming. Bye-bye.